Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host with the most. My name is Savagezweipanda, and you're here only for one thing: my handsome face, or maybe it might be to do with the fairy tale spoilers out themselves for the next chapter of the series. Chapter 509 spoilers have come out, and goddamn, we've got some stuff in there. We've got some very interesting stuff to talk about that, and a little bit as well for a treat. We've got some of the text as well involving this chapter with what we got to see with Larcade versus against Kagura, and definitely we get to see maybe this result of this fight already, because oh boy, is it very one-sided from this side, and it's not who you think it is. But we're going to be getting into it. And remember, if you don't want to see the spoilers, then you know you have been warned. I'm going to let you go at 3, 2, 1. Let's make some magic, ladies and gentlemen, as it's time for the spoilers. So we're going to first be talking about the cover page there, which, oh my god, I'm not going to lie, I'm not normally the biggest Kagura fan, but I appreciate, you know, heroes trying to show a little bit of the talent, you know, Kagura can look cute as well, but, you know, looking pretty good also as well on the top there, definitely promoting the Fairy Tale S thing, which is a bunch of the side stories that they've been having on there. I thought it's like, this is a cute little thing on there, but get cutting right into the first page of the manga, and we get to see like just a deserted wasteland of a battlefield, and seeing not only Jalal, Midnight, Cobra, and everyone else from Arashi on 6 with the combined forces of Crime Sorcerer. August has defeated them, and this is what I'm wanting to see. Like, as like you can clearly see, Jalal is clearly outclassed at this moment, and like August just putting his boot on like Jalal's head, just going, yeah, I have won, I have dominated, this is clear. And this is going to be interesting, and like what we were talking about with a little bit of the text, like August is actually saying to him for the text, is saying like, you, someone who used to be a follower of Zereth, has now betrayed us, and he's wondering why. So I'm kind of glad that at least August, he knows the information about Jalal. Like it's kind of interesting, since that was the thing, we didn't know how much a Crime Sorcerer had really spreaded. You only heard a little bit about him during like the entire Grand Magic Games. But generally, like, you never really heard about, like, oh, Crime Sorcerers, like, you know, their deals. And I think, if anything, that would have been a cool, like, side story. And I kind of wish that they did a little bit. I know, like, a lot of people have hit me up before that, like, you know, they're involved in, like, the Gargiel side story. But I generally think that would have been a lot cooler if they did that in one of the side mangas. Like, give the Jalal one, because Jalal's a very popular character in the franchise. And that would have been a really cool, like, spin-off for people on there. And then even the fact, you know, like, Jalal is trying, as you can see, like, at the bottom of the pages, he's definitely talking about Urza. And I think that, like, the reasons he's mainly talking about that is saying, like, you know, this was the thing that able to keep me going, you know, just showing way more and all that for you Urza and Jalal fans, just showing that how much more, you know, they love each other. And the fact that I just love the fact that August is just this dominant, like, being, and he's just stomping on his head. And clearly, he, like, what we see with all the, August is clearly said something to him that it's actually kind of frightening to hear from him. And the fact that we lead cut, like, back to, like, you know, Rahkeid, Larcade, Dragneel, whatever the translation you want to say, is that the fact he's throwing, like, light blades everywhere at Kagura, which is interesting. That was the thing I was saying about last week, was like, what can he honestly do? Since, like, we've honestly seen, like, the fact that he's like, I'm going to give you pleasure, and I'm kind of happy he has gone offense. Very interesting thing that a lot of people probably haven't noticed yet, the fact that he had to stay still throughout this. So, is this perhaps his biggest weakness, is the fact that he actually has to stay still to use his techniques? Like, maybe he has to be in some sort of enlightenment to actually use these techniques. Like, they're curious to see if that's, like, he's so strong, but this is his greatest weakness, is that he has to stand still. He has to, like, not move from this perch that he's at. And, like, the fact that, like, Kagura, she's dealing with it, but the fact that it's just, like, she's having a hard time against it. Like, she's, like, clearly deflecting, she's dodging, and wow, did the next panel that we get to this and all that just clearly show what side of this fight just went, as literally Kagura is already on the ground, sliced up. Yukino is like begging, please stop that, and the fact that she's pretty much going to end it. And I generally think, like, it was like, as I was saying, like, unless Kagura comes out of this with like a side swipe, I'm very interesting to see, because we don't get the title for chapter 510 at all throughout these spoilers. So I want to know, like, how exactly they're going to deal with someone like this, because this sounds like someone like of a very high caliber level, and the fact that I don't think Kagura was going to be the one really to deal with. But then I would probably be eating my words of the fact that she does get, like, after taking this, like, huge, like, slice to, like, the back of the, it will be interesting to see, like, any of the other characters, like, are going to be able to deal with them. Like, it'll be, if anything, if who could take this down, if it was, like, a joint combination of forces, like, Sabretooth alongside with Mermaid Heel, adding into, like, the other, like, guilds as well. Like, that would be interesting, that if it took, like, 4 or 5 guilds worth of like the strongest people to actually take out this guy. If anything, that'd be fine, but then it's so he's got the Dragneel name, so I want him to actually have like, you know, like some like, you know, a little bit more like details and a little bit more finding out about him. And we know that he's Xerath's son, but then it's still, we don't know the information whether or not, like we've been talking about like all last week, is like, is he a test tube baby? Did he perhaps like take like the DNA? Like a few people were suggesting like he's Anahaphilia, like maybe Xerath is like he'll love and all that. It's not the only one, although it's been like more hinted that it's like the only person he's ever been with has been like Mavis out of all this time. He pretty much used like the whole thing with her and like Anahaphilia was kind of like, you know, it was just a business relationship, although that could change. I generally think the fact that maybe he did take the DNA of like Mavis, like when she was like knocked out, maybe there's like one way to revive her. It's like, if anything, I can like rebuild the model of like Mavis and her purity by a son, and I think that's what it's going, because that's what Xerath saw in Mavis, is that just this pure innocent light, and in Xerath's own way he's kind of corrupting it, and it's like, you're gonna die, like this guy's like, you're gonna die, you're gonna suffer, but it's gonna be like, you know, in a way I'm gonna give you like the biggest like, you know, blessing. And like of course as well, like since we can talk about this, this is pretty much the end of the pictures itself, we can kind of address something that's been happening in the Fairy Tail manga for a while. So people know that we, you know, obviously a lot of people like myself read the early translations, so yes, if you're reading the early translations, they are going to be rough unless you wait a little bit. For what happens is that the Crunchyroll comes out, and Crunchyroll is the most like legit ones that you will get. They're fully translated by actual people, and they get the full words and everything. And the fact that is like, you know, like what exactly Larcade has actually been doing is the fact that like in the actual manga he is called like Rahkeid, so like, you know, that is actual translation, but to avoid confusion I normally will say Rahkeid, Larcade, or I will say White Dragneel, because some people might not know this translation error, like, but also as well it's the same thing with like Eileen or Irene, like that's her name in there, it's Irene, that's the matter of fact, but there was a big like translation thing with what exactly like Larcade's like whole power was, and it was like your innest desires, and it was like, oh, did they have the Fairy Tail characters having sex? No, it wasn't about them having sex. It was like getting into your biggest sins, or getting into like your like, you know, your enlightenment, or your most happiest moment. And I think that's like what it was, that's what his power is. But then as well, like we still need to find the full translations of it, and it's like, if anything, I will say, you know, it's for like getting them out as fast as possible. Obviously, I'm not going to do like everything. It's more kind of like broader than what they kind of explain. But I know some people are kind of upset about that, and they're like, well, there's so much confusion about it. And I did want to at least point that out for some people. If you're very unsure about like what really in the chapter was going on, then I highly recommend that you go to the Crunchyroll translations. They have the like pure translations. If not, there will be people in the Fairy Tail Reddit that will be able to help you on this. And I thought that would just be a little bit of the clear up, because I know some people are getting very like you know, confused about that. But I can just say it, if the anime ever does return, you don't be surprised when you be like, wait, why are they calling her Irene, or why are they calling him Rahkeid, or when it's supposed to be Larcade or White Dragneel? And it's just the way, it's like the romanji, it's like the pronunciation of the characters. Like we've had this before with like Bradman, which was Bloodman. We've had this before with like, just a bunch of guys, like Wolf for a while was Bradman for a while. Like they got that confused. Like a bunch of stuff on that was being mixed around and confused, and it was just a complete and utter shit show for the most part. So I know that took a while for you guys, but some people keep asking me that, saying like, why'd you call this character this? Why is happening with this character? And what the hell was with last chapter? And yeah, it was like, it's still a weird ass power, and don't get me wrong, that's not going to take away what I felt about last chapter, but instead of like, it was like, oh, this is like, this is showing who's a like virgin, who's not. And I think it's like, then it like, you get the questions like, well, who gets into their early desires? Is it showing the characters that give in too much to their early desires, or like, you know, these pleasures, which we showed with like, you know, Wendy was like one that didn't have that, like, or Urza. Certain people to able to resist it. It's weird, but we're gonna have to wait for more fuller translations on that. Other than my final thoughts on the chapter itself, definitely I love the color page. Like, you know, I thought that was really goddamn nice. I absolutely love the fact that August is dominating Janelle. I'm really enjoying that, and I'm just like, August is truly terrifying. Like, if anything, like, you know, I am looking forward to Irene, like, in an also Urza's fight, but everything that they've been doing with August throughout this entire arc. I've been loving how they've handled him in a way that he has been an unstoppable force, and if someone like Jalal with the irrational size can't deal with him, then you have to deal with someone like a Magic Caliber of Guild Arts level, because hell no, like, is no one else. Like, after, like, you know, you have Makarov, who's like, what, the early next part of that, and it's like, no, the only people that could probably deal with August at this point probably is Guild Arts. It would be cool if they had like all the other people, they give them a little bit of redemption, like all like the, from what we see, the highest level people in Fiore, like, you know, like bring back all those guys, you know, like Jurda. It would be kind of cool if they brought, but the fact is that they got their asses owned by God Serena, and this is what happened. It's like, you know, it would be even interesting the fact if Acnologia gets involved, and like if August tries to challenge Acnologia in a way, that would be really cool, because we saw Irene trying to deal with him, and I feel like this would be an interesting thing. It's like, let's see like the two elites, and I think if anything, if like the fact that we had like Irene and August going against Acnologia, if they actually teamed up and put aside their differences, I would absolutely love the fact of seeing like what kind of scenario we go. I don't think we're going to ever have that, but a scenario with the two of them will be goddamn interesting. But that is all from me. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, what you think about the spoilers for 509. Hope you enjoyed them. I definitely enjoyed covering them, and if you always like, you want to see some more Fairy Tail, you know what, hit that like, and you know what, hit that subscribe for more Fairy Tail content in the future. I'm your host with the most, Savagezweipanda. Thank you very much for watching as always, and as always, I'll see you guys though next time.